Hey everybody, welcome back to the Pet Food Puzzle Guy. It's been a couple weeks. I've been traveling a lot. We did a week in Montana and got home for a couple days, and then a week in Minnesota, and now we're back home. And I'm trying to get this video done because it's Halloween day, and I have to go trick or treating with my granddaughters tonight. But I wanted to get this video done because I'm kind of excited. Let me just give a little bit background about myself. I know there's so many new people, so I hope I don't bore all my regular folks that I love so much, but there's just so many new people coming in and they don't know who I am or why I do this. So let me just real quick just say that for 34 years, I had the best job in the world for somebody that's a dog lover. And I love all animals, but dogs are definitely my favorite. And I was a veterinary rep for Hill's Pet Nutrition. So back in the late 80s when I started, there was no Zoom calls, there was no internet actually. So I had to fly to Topeka all the time and sit through lectures with board certified nutritionists that designed and formulated all these incredible therapeutic diets. And I learned all this research, and a lot of it, because I'm not a veterinarian, a lot of it was kind of over my head, but I could grasp most of it, and I did love it. It kind of turned into a passion for some reason. And so my privilege, my job was to take all that information and go to vet clinics and work with veterinarians and their teams and train them on these diets so that they would use them when they saw different cases. And I was a liaison between the veterinarians and the Hills veterinarians, the hotline that was available for any questions they had. And I will tell you, I loved it. For somebody that loves animals, working in vet clinics all day long with other animal people that love animals as much as I do, it was pretty cool. And most veterinarians and most technicians just love animals, and they're not doing it for the money. I'll tell you that. I hear such terrible things on the internet about veterinarians and health professionals and all. But anyway, I digress. So that was my job every day for 34 years, and I loved it. And I used to tell veterinarians, especially when a new diet came out, that I loved hearing about all the research and reading up on it and all the studies that were done, all that kind of cool stuff. I just found it really fascinating. The best, though, was when those diets went home with a pet and the results came back that, hey, their blood values are normalizing. She's eating again. She's going up the stairs again. Her crystals are dissolving, whatever the situation was. And, I don't have any stats as to how many were successful and how many were not, but clearly there were a lot of success because I loved it, seeing the results that we saw. Was it 100%? No. Did we lose animals with kidney disease, whatever? Did they not eat the food? All kinds of issues. But overall, it was a wonderful privilege to be part of for so many years. And again, that's all I did. So when I retired about 3 years ago now, it's hard to believe, started looking at YouTube videos for fixing things around the house, all that kind of stuff, put in pet food, and I was horrified by the channels out there. And I'm not going to mention them, but you know a lot of them if you watch my channel, talking about how terrible therapeutic diets were, how kibble is killing your pet, how corn and all these ingredients are bad, and the big three, Hills, Purina, and Royal Canin, are just the dark side, and all this other stuff, and don't ever feed a prescription diet. And it just it broke my heart, made me angry at the same time. And not because, there's always going to be people who disagree with anything you say, but what was worse, looking at the comments and hearing from people that felt so bad that they had trusted their vet and fed, feline CD or canine KD, whatever, and their pet had eventually died. And now they're learning from these people with no nutritional credentials whatsoever, but that's the way the internet is these days, learning how bad those diets were. So they actually helped put their pet in the grave. And that really just got that, and I still see it to this day. And so that's why I started the channel. I'm the most unqualified person to be doing a channel. I barely know how to do it. I just use my phone, no fancy lights, nothing like that. I did get a mic. My son bought me a mic, so that was nice. But so that's why I do this channel. No one sponsors me. I am just sharing my 34 years of experience and what I've learned. I've learned all about all the sneaky pet food marketing, the ingredient panel lists, how that's manipulated, definitions of ingredients. And it's just that the pet food marketing to you, the pet parent, has gotten so dishonest, so misleading that it's just awful. And you're paying a whole lot more money for these foods. So I bring the whole conversation back to, and all my folks from the nutrition mission, as we call ourselves, bring it back to nutrients. Nutrition is delivering nutrients at optimal levels for maintaining health, or better yet, when we can actually use nutrient manipulation to manage diseases like kidney disease or urinary stones or liver disease, whatever. So there's two worlds out there I deal with on my channel. One is pet food marketing. The other is the real nutrition. And I try not to get too deep because you can get really deep into this stuff. But I just want to help pet parents not feel guilty or ashamed or a lot of anxiety and fear that you get from a lot of these channels. So I'm going to share a video with you. Actually, I can't share the video, so I'm gonna. I used to love putting clips of other people's videos with different opinion on, and then I would respond. I thought that's almost as close to a conversation as you could have, because these people are not going to have a conversation with me. I'm pretty confident in that. But I got into copyright issues and some complaints, and didn't want to lose the channel. So what I'm going to tell you is, I just watched a video. Rachel Fusaro. Just put in Rachel and FU, I don't know if it's FUS, I'm pretty sure. She'll pop up. I mean, she's extremely popular in the pet world. She and I have actually emailed back and forth a little bit, but she and I probably disagree on 95% of most of what we think about nutrition. And that's a shame, because she's just as passionate as I am about her animals and everybody else's animals as well. But she interviewed a Dr. Jones from Veterinary Secrets. It's another channel, Veterinary Secrets. He's a holistic veterinarian, retired now, gave up his license, but he's big into holistic and all that stuff. And same way, I've watched his videos and were horrified on his positions about nutrition and therapeutic nutrition and all that kind of stuff. So I just want to, on the onset, just say, I usually disagree with these two folks adamantly about lots of stuff. And because of copyright issues, I pulled most of the videos where I responded to some of their videos. So those of you that remember those, thanks. But anyway, they just made a video together on Rachel's channel that is so good. I think I agree. I think I agreed with everything to like the last 2 minutes of the video, and it's a long video. So I am going to put it in the description. I'm going to link it in there, because this is the first time ever, and who knows, maybe there is some common ground between all of us that have our belief systems that are going to, save our animals, and the others are terrible ideas, whatever. Maybe there is some common ground. That would be awesome. But I'm going to just go through my review of what they said and add a few things that I think are really important to bring their camp, the holistic camp over here, or what I usually call the ingredientists, those that just look at ingredients and ignore nutrients, bring them over to closer to the camp over here where it's science-based nutrition. Now, I know they would not agree with my definition of ingredientists, but whenever I listen to them, it's always ingredients, and they give nutrients kind of like lip service, but never really are serious about it. So, but in this video, they're talking about DCM, and DCM is something that you all are familiar with dogs, cardiomyopathy, dilated cardiomyopathy. Dr. Jones actually goes through and gives a good description of what it is in layman's terms, which is always nice. And a new study that just came out. So I thought, I need to watch this and see what it's all about. And I will tell you that we need to back up a little bit. I don't know if it was a 2017 or 2018, around there, where all of a sudden we were seeing these DCM cases, or veterinarians were, and there was just this big, I don't want to call it a scare, whatever. It's just all of a sudden it made the news, and vets were seeing all this DCM, and FDA got involved. And FDA, I mean, I don't have a very high opinion of them. Probably you don't either, whether it's human food or pet food, but they kind of jumped to conclusions. They were working with Tufts University and Dr. Freeman there and the nutritionists. And for some weird reason, the FDA came out with a list of pet foods that were causing DCM. was about a dozen pet foods. Now, here I am, a Hills rep, and I'm looking at that list because I don't want to see Hills on there or Science Diet, their pet version. And thankfully it wasn't. But I knew, everybody at Hills knew this is absurd. There's no way you could be blaming these foods and not all the thousands of other foods out there. The FDA just totally jumped to conclusions and caused a major upheaval. Everybody was flipping out. Practicing veterinarians were flipping out. They weren't sure what to do with this. At Hills, they told us as reps going into these vet clinics, don't go in and tell them that grains are causing DCM, or that grain-free diets are causing DCM. We don't know. We don't know what's going on. Obviously, it's connected to the taurine level, the amino acid found in meat. There was all that. And there was a whole lot more questions than answers. And time went on. And of course, there's always the person out there that has to take advantage of a situation. And a lawyer who owns a pet food company, he decided he could get some free advertising by suing Hills, claiming that Hills was working with a nutritionist at Tufts University and other places to badmouth grain-free foods because, like his company with grain-free diets, they were gaining market share and Hills was losing market share. So that's why Hills was in cahoots to do this. I do have a video, and I'll try to remember, I'll attach that talks about the lawsuit and the fact it was thrown out. It was really just free advertising for this guy. He's a lawyer, so what would you expect? He knew he could get free advertising out of it, but of course it wasn't going to go anywhere for lots of reasons. Hills has grain-free foods. If they really were going to start this thing that grain-free is bad, they would have at least made that look good by pulling theirs off the market, but they didn't. They left it there. They told us reps out there, and there's a couple hundred reps, we have no opinion on this. It's just too new. There has to be research done. They were checking taurine levels, in the Hills diets. We didn't have any DCM, as far as I know of, not one recorded incident. That doesn't mean that a food that did that it was the food's fault. That was, the FDA was really wrong doing that. But anyway, that whole lawsuit baloney went away. And so here we are with this new lawsuit, this new study. And it's funny because it was sponsored or paid for by Hills. Okay. Now I expected these two folks, because I know their opinion on the big three and, big conglomerates and all that other stuff. I expected them to poo-poo it, and they didn't. And actually, Rachel was asking the doctor, what did he think of the study? I did call Hills and could not get any feedback as to what they thought of the results of the study. So I'm just going with Dr. Jones here, but he was very satisfied. It was an 18-month study done with 60 dogs, and these were colony dogs. Now, Rachel didn't know what's a colony dog. Hills has about, it's got to be 300 or so, maybe more now, dogs that live there in Topeka. You can go to Hills Pet Nutrition Center and on YouTube and watch where these animals live. It really is dog heaven, and cat heaven is another section. But I remember my first time there, I thought this is incredible. These animals just have it made. And so anyway, there were dogs that were fed there. It was 4 different diets. Some had grain, some didn't have grain. Peas, potato, that whole kind of thing. And anyway, and I'm not good at evaluating studies. I'm telling you right now, that's an art that takes some skill. Just kind of trusting Dr. Jones, that he looked at it and he was satisfied. And again, we'd love to have it even longer than that, but 18 months was the longest so far, a study done on just normal, healthy dogs. And the one before that he mentioned was only like 20 weeks long that somebody had done and got the same results. So there's still no causal effect of particular diet or pulses or peas or whatever to DCM. They still are not sure, but it definitely is not the scare that it once was. And so I wanted you to be aware of that this new study is out there. But I also want you to understand there are still a lot of questions about it. And Rachel actually mentioned this. She said, where did this whole grain-free thing come from? And she actually explained it really well. It was nothing but marketing. The whole grain-free phenomenon of pet food was nothing but marketing. There's not one, you can't go to one stitch of nutritional information over here, or this event happened over there, or some doctor discovered, hey, if we make a grain-free food, here's some of the results we get. I mean, that happens sometimes, when I think of, the doctor, her name escapes me, Deb Greco, maybe that's it, discovering that, hey, if we lower the carb level and increase fat and protein in diabetic cats, we can go into remission. That was a great kind of discovery that was just kind of made almost accidentally and changed everything. So things happen like that. It's rare, but it happens. This whole grain-free thing, nothing but marketing. Humans were into reducing carbs, all that kind of stuff, and it got pushed. The boutique, and Rachel even calls them boutique. So it's so cool to agree with everything she's saying through this video, and Dr. Jones as well, that it was really just marketing. The boutique diets, trying to get a foothold in there, and being grain free was cool, went along with your low carb diet that you're doing, and there you go. And so when this hit, most practicing veterinarians, and I took this approach as well, working with them, if a client is concerned about DCM and is feeding a grain-free food, just get off the grain-free diet, because you're really not gaining any benefit being on the grain-free food. Okay, it's just, now from the grain-free thing, it morphed into the species appropriate, that meat, your dog's a carnivore and you need meat. We have 30% more meat. We have 85% meat from animals, all this, so all this marketing, again, I've been doing this for decades now. It morphs into new gimmick, and then off to another gimmick. I remember back when natural and holistic was brand new and wow, and that faded, and it meant nothing if you understand the definition of natural and especially holistic. So here, it just shows this trend. And so you'll be very impressed hearing the good doctor talking about DCM, what it is, and going through his experience and Rachel's experience too. They both stopped feeding grain-free food because of the scare. Makes total sense to me. I wasn't feeding any grain-free at the time, but again, I kept listening to the Hills nutritionist saying, hey, what are we saying now? What do we know? And it was all, hey, we don't know much. There's a whole lot more questions than answers. But again, there's no real benefit to grain-free. So what's the smartest thing to do? Probably stay away from it. And most good doctors, even to this day, will say, hey, I'm not real hot on grain-free until some other questions get answered. And I think that's a prudent way for a veterinarian to be. Okay. So you go through the video, and I was thrilled to see how I can agree with most of what the stuff they were saying was stuff that I tell you folks all the time. And Dr. Jones has a senior dog, and so do I. I have two senior dogs now, and so you get really scared. Bella just came back with a clean bill of health, but she's definitely starting to lose it cognitively wise, and that's sad to watch. But she's still happy, loves her walks. She's still a sweet little thing. But so Dr. Jones is going through the same thing with a senior dog, and just had a dental done, and the liver enzymes are elevated. So what did he do? He went with a diet that's lower in protein. Now, saying that, how low compared to what? That's all up to the individual person to decide what they feel is accurate. I tend to trust Hills when it comes to protein levels, stuff like that. He's added omega-3s, probably from fish oil, I would imagine. Many diets out there formulated for seniors, or there's actually hepatic diets from Royal Canin and Hills. That would be my first choice if I had a dog with higher liver enzymes, but he's more into the all natural, do it with homemade remedies and stuff like that. And that's great if that's your passion and you kind of know what you're doing, or you're using somebody who knows what they're doing. There's lots of options. Let me just stop here for 1 second just to clarify. Everybody thinks I'm anti raw, or I'm anti home cooking, or also I'm just promoting kibble, big kibble. I don't care what form of food you use. I am not into this form is better than that form. You can be feeding dry commercial. You could be feeding canned commercial. You could be home cooking with everything from Sprouts and the grocery store. You can be buying the stuff from the grocery store and cooking it yourself. You could be feeding raw, whether you get it from the butcher or you buy a commercial raw, food from or all the fresh foods coming out now. Okay, the form doesn't matter. They're all valid forms. Some have more benefits than others. There's some pros and cons, but overall, can you make a diet that delivers the optimal nutrient levels that your dog needs, especially your specific needs of your dog, by using one of those forms of food? Absolutely. That there is no question. Anybody that tells you if you're feeding that form, you're killing your animal, like kibble. Kibble's going to kill your animal. They've heard that from pet food marketers. The people that say, well, if you feed raw, you're nuts. You're just, I'm sure there's deficiencies. I'm sure no, there's plenty of dogs out there and cats that are thriving on raw. Okay. You just cannot put a here's the best form down to this one. With every one of those forms, I could go out and find you a food that is horribly formulated with horrible excesses and deficiencies that could definitely harm your animal and cause issues. It doesn't matter whether it's dry, canned, raw, or home cooked. Okay. And if your dog had kidney disease or your cat had urinary stones, yes, could you go out and find something, a diet that would help manage their condition in those four forms? Yeah, you could. Now, personally, I trust the first form, dry and canned, coming from a therapeutic company that has tons of research and tens of thousands, if not more, animals that have been on the diets, who've seen the results. I tend to go that way. Okay. But you want to do it yourself, by raw or by home cooking. Hey, you know what? You have total control. It's a big responsibility. You have total control, but make sure you get with a board certified nutritionist and get a balanced diet. And the one thing I love about this video when you watch it with Rachel and Dr. Jones is they actually get to the point where they're saying, maybe it's not so much the ingredients and this ingredient's bad and that ingredient's good. Maybe it's the balance of the food, the actual nutrients in the food. They mention nutrients. I mean, I should do a drinking game or play that video again. Every time they mention nutrients, I take a shot because I was like, oh, yeah. I mean, so for those of you that know me, especially if you've watched some of the videos I've done on Dr. Jones and Rachel, for me to be saying, hey, you should watch this video of both of them discussing this topic because I think it's good information. That's pretty rare. So back to Dr. Jones and his senior dog. Again, he's not only is he adding omega-3s and he's lowered the protein. He says he feeds a cana dry, and right away I'm sure people, cana, they got bought by Mars, so that means they're evil now. But he feeds a cana, but he also feeds a fresh diet out there up there in Canada. He said I forget the name. Maybe he says it in the video, but it's kind of like Fresh Pet down here in the States. So it's a fresh food. He mixes that. Now, if you're like me, a nutrient nut, you're like, well, you're mixing two foods. Now you really are coming up with a different nutrient profile than what's on the Acana profile or on the other foods profile. Plus you're adding them, the omega-3s, that's not a problem. That's fine. But then he adds a couple other supplements as well. So it's really interesting. I'm sure he's doing blood work, and I'm sure that pet is blessed to have him, and he'll manage it well. But there's a difference just in philosophy where he, being a veterinarian, being into all this stuff, he makes and sells supplements and all kinds of stuff that you can check out on his channel. But to me, a person that's not a veterinarian, I'm not going to formulate my own diet. I'd be scared to death to do that kind of stuff. I'm nervous adding anything to the diet besides what's actually the nutrient profile to manage that liver disease. I'm going to go get RC's hepatic diet or Royal Canin's LD. Now, again, my unique perspective and experience, I've seen these diets work wonders in the vet clinic. So that's why I'm so biased that way and kind of biased against doing it yourself. Could Dr. Jones do it? Most likely he could, and he has access to other veterinarians and all that. The average pet owner that now has a dog with liver disease are going to take that on themselves. That's a little scary to me. Again, that's why I tend to lean toward the bigger companies that have the resources and the history And again, I saw it personally, whether it was Royal Canin or Purina. I saw it work. So I really appreciated watching this video that Rachel and Dr. Jones, one right off the bat, did not say, "Oh, well, this study was funded by Hills, so Hills, of course, influenced it, and this and that." That was really not. They didn't even go there. That was really, really did appreciate that. And I like that the information. I think Rachel said it, or one of them said it. We really, no one can say 100% sure. Here you go. Here's the facts. We know everything now about DCM and diet, and we're all good. Don't ever believe anybody if they say that, okay? Because there's way too many questions instead of answers. And this is not that different. Back in, I think it was in the 70s, we went through that taurine issue with cats. Cats were coming down with cardiomyopathy, and it was much simpler as far. Now, I was a little before my time. I just remember hearing about it, but it really was just simply they had started using way too much grain and plant protein in dry cat foods, and there literally just wasn't enough meat in there for them to get the taurine. So that was pretty easy to handle. I remember a veterinarian telling me there were some interesting diets that actually had enough taurine, but they had other ingredients in the food that actually made that taurine not bioavailable to the cat. So even though it was there in the food, it wouldn't end up in the cat. Okay. So this is, nutrition, we make it so simple on these channels, and I'm guilty of it too. And I'm sure Peter will be cheering right now as I say this, because he always wants to go deeper, deeper, deeper. He's the one that's going to be a nutritionist pretty soon here. But you can only go so deep before you realize, okay, you know what? I guess I just have to take this and pass it on to the nutritionist and just trust them. And my next video is actually going to show you that in blaring reality that this is much more complicated than the discussions we have. But so anyway, it did happen with cats. We never did learn, is there too much taurine? It seems like there's not a toxic excess level, but they never did figure it out. They just knew, make sure there's enough taurine in there, and you don't see that with cats anymore. Now we're seeing it with dogs. What's the deal here? There were a couple things that Dr. Jones and Rachel said how they really like meat protein, and meat protein is what they look for. Just remember, meat protein is amino acids. Corn gluten meal is amino acids. Soy meal or soybean meal is amino acids. They each have different bioavailability. They each have a different amount of amino acids. And there's not, well, meat is the best protein source, sure, because you can look at it, the bioavailability, the amount of amino acids. But combining that with plant protein like corn gluten meal or soybean, whatever, you can end up with a better amino acid profile, digestible and bioavailable to that animal, than just using meat alone. That's what nutritionists do. So I think the one area that, we're going to agree on this video mostly till toward the end there, where they get into corn and they get into meat protein being so great. I want meat protein, but Rachel mentioned something about, I think they need to put the amount of meat protein on the bag so that people aren't misled thinking they're getting all this protein, but it's not coming from meat. It's coming from corn gluten meal and soy and egg or something like that. I'm great with that. I'm okay with that. But the marketers get in there with every good thing you try to do, just like Wasava. They've totally destroyed that. The marketers, but they've made it pretty irrelevant, is what I mean. But they get in there and they twist things around. What's going to happen is they're going to be able to use low grade meat meals, okay, even fresh meat, low grade, okay. You have to watch some of my other videos on ingredient panels and the definitions of ingredients. But they'll be able to use low grade meat, whether it's dried or fresh, and be able to tell you we're 95% of our protein comes from meat. And you're going to say, ooh, that's great. I'll pay extra for that. Where here's another food company that's, I don't know. I don't know what the ratios are, honestly, in a good balanced food, how much plant protein versus meat protein would Science Diet use or Royal Canin use to provide all the amino acids. Might depend on the condition of the animal, what disease we're dealing with. But you might say, oh, well, they're only 60% meat, so I'm going to buy the other one that was 95%. But their meat sources is all excellent grade, and they're using egg and soy and some other things and giving you a better amino acid profile than the other food that you'll never know it. But if you looked at the mineral content, guess what you'd find? Those of you from the, again, Nutrition Mission folks out there, what do we know? If both those foods, we look at the mineral levels, guess what? We find the one that's promoting the 95% meat protein very excessive in phosphorus, very excessive in calcium, maybe hardly any vitamin E in the food. So if you're going to take Rachel's approach, and I'm not saying, I don't want to put words in her mouth, this wouldn't be the only thing she would look at in a food, I hope, but you see how misleading it could be that, oh, you're going to get 95% protein, so that's a better food than the one that's telling you it's only 60% animal protein. That could actually be a much healthier diet, much more balanced, but you got bought into believing the 95% meat protein was better. So see how the marketing, it just gets into every nook and cranny within the nutrition world. So anyway, I hope you watch the video. Now I say this with kind of mixed feelings here. I want you to watch this video, but if you do go to their channels, I'm sure most of you probably know at least Rachel, if not Dr. Jones. You're going to watch videos about their approach to nutrition is totally opposite of mine. Okay, so hopefully that won't drive you crazy. They have a whole lot more subscribers tonight. I'm just a tiny little, so you probably do know about them already. But that's the whole point of this channel, is to allow you to look at the other channels, listen and think about what they're saying, and let's really talk about it. And just as Rachel said very graciously, we're all just trying to do our best. So the last thing they ended up with was, I thought we are going to make it through the whole video. The last 2 minutes, they start both saying how corn is so bad in food, pet food, and I totally disagree. And it's my wish, my prayer, whatever, that because they could reach out to some of the board certified nutritionists that would go over corn with them and the benefits of corn. Corn gluten meal is a protein source. Ground corn, if it's cooked correctly, it provides fiber and energy and omega-3s. I mean, there's so many good things, and because it's not that species appropriate, it doesn't fit into their thinking. They just think it's so bad. So it's a shame we had that one little disagreement, but I'm really hopeful. Maybe we all can just kind of get off our high horses and try to help pet parents just make informed decisions. But she and the doc mentioned nutrients a lot, and you guys know my mantra: show me the nutrients. I'll look at the other stuff, but nothing's going to tell me the quality of your food and how healthy it is for my dogs and a cat, if I had one, than your nutrient profile. Now, true, nutrient profile doesn't tell the whole story. I know. I'll look at the ingredients too, but the ingredient panel has way too many limits for me to judge a food based on that. The nutrient levels, especially those mineral content that nobody looks at, man, that's giving me the true story. Okay, so I hope that's been helpful, and I do hope you'll watch the video. And I will also put in a link in the video, the lawsuit that was filed, that little pet food company filed against Tufts and Dr. Freeman and Hills for colluding, trying to come up with this whole scare about grain-free food. I'll put that on just as well in case you've heard about that. And again, I kudos to both these folks for not even bringing that up. This was just a really good, excellent video they did. And I don't mind, even though we totally disagree on the main philosophy. It's good information, and I want you to have that. That's the whole purpose of my channel, is good information. And make sure you're still checking out Animal Doc Ray. Boy, Dr. Ray, she just keeps coming out with great videos one after the other. And now that I'm back home for a little while before Thanksgiving, I'll try to get some more videos out. I'm trying to catch up on comments. You guys are awesome, and I apologize if I'm behind. I'm trying to catch up and review some of the foods that you guys have asked me to review. Okay, so thanks for everything. Just hope you're all doing well, and remember, treat today like it's precious, because it really is. Okay, take care.